Hey everyone, welcome back to Ask the Experts with FantasyPros. It is week 1. I'm Tara Roberts and I'm here with my awesome co-host Lauren Carpenter. And we are here to be with you all season long, take your questions, and help you thrive this season. If you want your question answered, here's what you gotta do. Just subscribe to any of our social media channels. We're only taking questions from people who are subscribed to the social media channels, so if you want to post a question on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. Hashtag it Ask the Experts so we can find it. And in this video, we've got the link to all of the social media sites for you to subscribe to as well, so we make it nice and easy for you. And that's it. Just ask the questions, we'll answer them, and we'll be right here with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump into the first question. And it is from YouTube, from Joseph Stepp, Chris Godwin, or Daryl Henderson at Flex. Lauren, do you want to take this one?
I will. Okay. Yes. Both of them. I do like both of them a lot here. I will make the argument, though, for Daryl Henderson. And the reason I'm making this argument is because I know that there is going to be super safe floor with Daryl Henderson. So Chris Godwin is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we all know that is starting tonight. And just PSA for anyone, if you have a player that is starting tonight, this is tonight meaning Thursday. If you have anyone starting in this Thursday night game or any Thursday night game moving forward, in case you do hear this on Friday, make sure you move that Thursday player out of your flex spot and put them into the positional part of your roster in case some injuries, of which we have some news on one, comes up. You are not limited by position and you have your flex spot open. But for me here, I'm going to take Daryl Henderson. I like his floor. There's not as much competition that I'm really worried about, whereas Chris Godwin has Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. I mean, let's go down the list of all those people. So I'll play it safe here, and I will say go with Daryl Henderson.
So I definitely don't dislike Daryl Henderson. I agree with everything you said. And the only thing that I like better is just I like the upside of that wonderful game that we've got here. And typically, I don't like Thursday night games. I tend to kind of hate them from a fantasy perspective because something always seems to go wrong. And
they're always weird. They are always weird. Thursday night games are like just expect weird things to happen.
Exactly. But I'm hedging my bets that, it's not a short week for people now because it's the first game and it's Tampa Bay, it's Dallas, and I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that it's Dallas's defense. And apparently Chris Godwin is not injured. Was a little bit worried about that, but other than that, I'm good to go with Godwin. I think he's got the most upside and the most potential for a boom game.
Yeah, so I guess it just depends on what you need there, Joseph. Do you want your safe floor or do you want to go ahead and shoot for that ceiling? Because I don't think there's really a wrong answer in this case.
Exactly.
Love it.
So moving on to the next question, another YouTube question from Samuel Bean, and who is very passionate and says, help, I have an opportunity to trade Darnell Mooney for Deebo Samuel in my PPR league. What should I do? Cool. And, this is a tough one because these are two guys who are very good and very similar. They're the number 2s in their offense. And for me, the difference is that Mooney is the clear wide receiver 2 on his team. And in my opinion, Samuel is more of a 1B situation. In Dynasty, I might feel the opposite, but I'm talking about redraft here. So, and I can see if you can make the argument maybe that, Kittle muddies the water a little bit more, but just from that perspective and the fact that I know that Deebo can get 100 yards and double-digit targets, I know what he can do, and then there's the run game as well. I like him better for this season.
I agree with you here, Tara. I could make a case for Darnell Mooney because I do like him if Justin Fields is the starter because I think Andy Dalton only has eyes for Allen Robinson, but I can't because I agree with you. I like Deebo Samuel here, so I'm on that Deebo Samuel side. Is there an argument for it? Sure. But I think the better pick here is going to be Deebo Samuel for me as well.
Awesome. And then moving on to the next question, we've got Luke Frost, half PPR, start 1, Kenny Golladay, Michael Pittman, or Callaway. Which one are you going with?
Oh, I went back and forth on this. Okay. And sorry, I keep itching my nose. My hair is all up in my face. So I went back and forth on this. I went safe with Daryl Henderson in one of my earlier questions, but in this one, I actually might want to swing for the fences here and go with Callaway. I might go with Marquez. Is it Marquez or Marquez? I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm just going to go with Callaway. I would go with Callaway here for that massive boom upside because Jameis Winston, like I said, Andy Dalton only has eyes for Allen Robinson. It seems like Jameis Winston only has eyes for Marcus Callaway. So if you really want to get a home run hitter that's going to just kind of ceiling, sky's the limit, then I would go with Callaway. But again, at the same time, Pittman is still kind of one of the more obvious answers here. But I'm gonna go high ceiling here and go Callaway.
I like it. I like a little risk.
Yeah.
No
risk it, no biscuit.
Yeah, exactly. I get all your arguments. I love Callaway. I think it's going to be great for him. And the craziest part about this is that all these guys are wide receiver ones. Crazy. Crazy how that happened. Which kind of led me to initially think, Kenny Golladay, but I am worried about the injury. I tend to be a little less worried about injuries, but in Galladay's case, the way that it's lingering, it's been here a while, the whole, getting back to practice, kind of limited thing, I don't know. It worries me. I think he's going to play, but I'm worried about him being on a little bit of a snap count and them maybe relying on other people. So in a healthy vacuum, it would be Golladay, but since it's not a healthy vacuum for me, I'm going with Pittman. I suspect, it's crazy that he's got, similar upside, but I think that he's going to be someone that Wentz is looking for, particularly in the red zone, and that's what kind of tips it for me versus Callaway, but I do love Callaway. I mean, yeah, I feel like you can't go wrong with that one either.
Yeah, and I agree with you on Kenny Golladay. He said himself that he's going to start slow. Like, this is coming from Kenny Golladay saying he's going to start slow. So take Kenny Golladay out of this question completely. Your real question here is between Callaway and Pittman. We both have arguments as to who you can start, so it's really going to be going with your gut. Exactly.
So moving on to the next question. This is our last question from YouTube, from Charles Wolf, and it's a start one. Pick one. DeAndre Swift, Antonio Brown, or Devonta Smith. I got the feeling that we're going to agree on this one.
Okay. I might not. I might have just changed it. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I'm excited to hear this. Because for me, it is Antonio Brown. It sounds like Swift is going to be a full go. I'm a little bit weary, but okay, let's buy into that he's a full go. And then I love Devonta Smith in the long term, but I'm not going to sit there and start him unless I'm in like a deeper league or something like that. And until I actually know and see what the situation is with him and his connection to Jalen Hurts, I need to see it on the field to feel comfortable. So for me, Antonio Brown, it's just, I love his upside for the entire season. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed in that Tampa Bay offense, but it sounds like Antonio Brown is looking kind of amazing right now, and I'm going with it.
Yeah, so I was originally, I said I was going to change my mind. I didn't change my mind. There was news that just came out that DeAndre Swift is a full go. He's not going to be limited. I don't know how much I really believe that, but my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh my God, I've told everyone to start Jamal Williams. Now I'm freaking out. But I think I'm going to stick with my gut here. I'm going to stick with my guns, and I'm going to agree with you. Antonio Brown can really get back to form this year. And remember, he did not have much time on a brand new offense with a quarterback who's brand new to him and who was brand new to the team, but they finished in fuego. So I am expecting that to continue. So Antonio Brown for me. DeAndre Swift did give me pause though. He kind of made me nervous. So you're not the only one who has these questions. I'm going to stick with my guns and on my gut here that DeAndre Swift will indeed be on a snap count, and just by nature of Anthony Lynn will be in a timeshare. Go with Antonio Brown.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. So moving on to Discord, we've got some questions from Discord here from the infamous one. I like that name. Very clever.
I do too. Well done.
Question is, should I keep Henry for my tight end, or should I drop him for Hooper or Cook? Which is better for this week and for the season? Lauren, do you want to take this one first?
I will. Okay, I have a very caliente take when it comes to Austin Hooper, and I'm staying away from Austin Hooper. We've kind of been talking about, the idea of a lot of mouths to feed, and that is especially true with the Browns. And one of the things that scare me about the Browns is that with Kevin Stefanski, they are a run-first, run-heavy offense, and why wouldn't you be with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt? There's also Odell Beckham Jr., who is healthy. There's also Jarvis Landry. There's just a lot of things going on in that offense. I think that Austin Hooper is boom or bust. I don't know how to predict when that's going to happen. I'm staying away from Austin Hooper, and I might stick with Hunter Henry because he was a massive red zone target for Justin Herbert, and he was just one on the Chargers no matter what. I do understand that he is going to have to compete against Jonnu Smith, so we'll see kind of how that relationship works out, with Mac Jones at the helm. So I like keeping Hunter Henry, but I want you to keep a very close eye on Jared Cook. Speaking of Hunter Henry, who is now vacated from the Chargers, Jared Cook has taken over. And whereas Hunter Henry was a red zone threat, Jared Cook is as well. So I would keep Hunter Henry, but I would keep your eye on those Chargers games to see how well Jared Cook does, to then maybe swoop him up and play him when you need to if Hunter Henry does not pan out.
So I'm kind of with you there. I feel a little bit better about Hooper. I think in terms of this week, I think that Hooper's the safer option, and he might be the safer option for a couple of weeks until we really know how they're going to utilize these two tight ends in New England, because unfortunately, due to injuries and, preseason, we never got to actually see them at the same time. And, so I just want to see a couple of games before I pull the trigger on it. But unfortunately, in this position, not unfortunately, this user already pulled the trigger. So in that case, I'm not dropping Hunter Henry. Because if you drop him, he will be picked up on the waivers. He will be gone.
Absolutely.
So, so I'm not dropping him in this situation. While I do think that Hooper is probably a safer option, I'm willing to risk it and keep Henry on the team and go with that. So stick with him the only caveat to that I would say is if you do have someone, like maybe you went with Jonnu Smith later and you went heavy on, or you went early with a tight end and maybe got yourself a Hawk, or maybe even Kyle Pitts. In that situation, I'd be like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable with you taking a risk there. But even then, so I would go out and get something else, because, maybe you don't need two tight ends. But aside from that, yeah, I'm sticking with Henry.
Yay! Go team.
Yes. Moving on to the next question from Discord, we've got Curtis. Who should I drop? Should I drop Michael Carter for Tony Jones? I have Kamara. I also have Trey Sermon as a high upside RB. So this is a very interesting question.
Lots of layers.
Yeah, lots of layers to it. And in my opinion, you should hold Carter just because, unfortunately, you're going to be holding him. You're not going to be starting him right now, hopefully. But as you go further into the season, Carter can actually work his way into the lead RB. Jones can't do that. So it's kind of a situation of, is Michael Carter someone who you want to potentially be your RB2 as you go further into the season, once the Jets start to pull things together and can rely on the run game a little bit more and maybe not have to play from behind and throw a lot? Michael Carter can be that guy as we move forward. And, unfortunately, Tony Jones doesn't have that opportunity, but he does have a little bit of flex appeal, and we'll maybe talk about this later. So if you're looking for someone with flex and you want to focus on handcuff, you could go for that, but hold Carter.
Yeah, I'm the same with you here. I like holding on to Carter for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned. There's a lot less of a roadblock in the way of, Carter being able to contribute to the team and contribute to your fantasy squad by way of touches and volume if he can go ahead and start to become the more important running back of that running back by committee for the Jets. So I just feel like there's a little bit more opportunity for Michael Carter season long. Obviously, just like you said, it's not going to be week one, so make sure you temper your expectations there. Whereas Tony Jones, I feel really his pathway to success is if something happens to Alvin Kamara, and it's going to be difficult for me to decide what game is going to be that flex option for Tony Jones, because that's really the only place that you can do with him, or you're hanging on to him. I'm also not huge about having your own handcuff on your own team. I feel like that's kind of a waste of a bench spot when you can kind of diversify, but that's really a personal opinion here too. But at the end of the day, we both agree, hold on to Carter, see what happens there in the Jets.
Nice. So moving on to the next question, we have Birdie551, also from Discord. A week one question, Tannehill or Trevor Lawrence? And then he's got a little bit more information on there, a little second part. Also, I lost my RB2 due to injury, very sad. So my options are Nyheim Hines, Giovanni Bernard, and James White. So, first part of the question, Tannehill or Lawrence? For me, I know first of all, I love Trevor Lawrence. I'm a Clemson grad. But he is the new shiny thing, and I tend to avoid the new shiny thing right now when he's got upside to be a top 10 QB, at some
But that
point.
flow, girl, that hair, what do you mean?
I know. It's beautiful. Gorgeous locks. But Tannehill, he doesn't have the locks, but he does have the track record of being a top 10 quarterback. A lot of people forget that about him. I know he's not the most flashy of quarterbacks out there, but he is and can be and probably will be a top 10 legitimate quarterback. And you don't have to worry about the growing pains that Lawrence could have. The running back situation, for me, Tampa Bay, no. It's a very shaky situation, so I'm avoiding Giovanni Bernard. James White, for me, 2020 was difficult for him, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that he can bounce back, but I need to wait and see that for him, so it's Nyheim Hines for me.
Yeah, for the exact same reasons that you said, I'm going also with Tannehill and Hines. I would just add on a little caveat here. On the depth chart, Nyheim Hines, I believe, is second on the depth chart behind Jonathan Taylor, which means Marlon Mack is third on the depth chart. So that's a solid actual RB2 to get an RB2 in there with the new quarterback that they have in Carson Wentz. So yeah, I can't disagree with you on this one. I can't even make an argument for the other two, whatsoever. So Tannehill, Hines, lock it in.
Awesome. Lauren, do you want to take over on the questions reading? I feel like I'm just
sure.
Talking.
Oh, that's right. But that Birdie one, I love the name Birdie for some reason. One of my really good friends' nieces is named Birdie, and I think it's so cute. Okay, rebootin' tag. I like that because I need a rebootin' every once in a while as well. From Discord, PPR Flex Spot, Robert Woods or T. Higgins. And I am so upset with this question because I don't have a really definitive answer because I was like, ooh, Robert Woods. And I was like, ooh, T. Higgins. And I was like, ooh, Robert Woods. So I was really going back and forth here. So I'll just jump right in and say I finally landed on T. Higgins. And here's why. I know I've been saying do not worry about Jamar Chase because I know he's been kind of stumbling and not doing as well as everyone had expected in training camp and in preseason, but he still needs to get up to NFL speed. I don't think that happened in a week. So I believe that threat will still be T. Higgins, at least to start the season. So I will go with T. Higgins here because I think his upside is going to be pretty awesome, but that doesn't mean that Robert Woods isn't a bad choice either. I just might lean T. Higgins because I think they're going to have to play from behind. They're going to be throwing it, and that is going to be between Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins, and T. Higgins has proven that he can have a pretty darn high ceiling. So I'm going to go with T. Higgins. Tara, what about you?
So I agree with you. This was such a tough question
it
because,
was.
These are two guys that I love, and now I have to, for the second time in a row, not choose a Clemson player, and that hurts my heart. But, not to knock T at all, because I completely agree with you. I do think that he, for the first part of the season is going to be that number one guy. I think he'll start off as the wide receiver one in that offense, and they're going to throw a lot. I get that. But I know what Woods will be. I know who he will be. I know he is a top 15 receiver every single year for the past 3 years, and I know that Matt Stafford can throw. And I'm so excited to see them connect. And, I think the connection is going to be awesome. And for that reason, I think that he's got a lot more upside to even be in that top 10 category of wide receivers. So I'm going with Woods.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a wrong answer here. Go with your gut. That's kind of that's what we did. That's what I did anyway. Just going with my gut on that one. Awesome. All right, let's move on to Tornado Man 40 from Discord. Okay, this is interesting because this is a dynasty trade, but I also want to approach it from a redraft perspective too, because that is huge right now. Okay, in case anybody missed it, which I doubt you will by the time you hear this video, it is likely that Gus Edwards may have sustained a season-ending injury like a torn ACL. Just now, literally about
Crazy.
5 minutes before Tara and I sat down to record this for everyone, the Gus Bus may be out for the season, which is absolutely heartbreaking. So this changes a lot of things in redraft. But let's go ahead and answer that question from a dynasty perspective. And it is dynasty trade Le'Veon Bell for a second. Now, I'm going to assume that you are trading away Le'Veon Bell to receive that second pick. If that's the case, yes, smash accept. Don't stop it. Go. Do it now. Do it absolutely right now. What do you think, Tara? I think you might be on the same page as I am here.
Yeah, please. Take the money and run. I hope we get this episode to you in time. Please.
Yes.
Accept.
Yes.
It's a great trade for you.
I know. It is. Absolutely. It really is. So now from the redraft perspective, because All right, the Ravens did something a little interesting. They signed Le'Veon Bell to the practice squad. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that they signed him to the practice squad. There was an opportunity possibly for him to play week 1 if he was conditioned enough, if they liked what they saw in him. In the meantime, they signed Trenton Cannon, a running back, to their 53-man roster. So before we heard about this Gus Edwards news, it was like, okay, Le'Veon Bell, don't worry about it. I don't like it. Whatever. Because if he were to make the role, it would likely be the Mark Ingram role from 2020, which was fantasy worthless. So whatever. Now that we have this Gus Edwards news and we're really not quite sure what's going on, I am changing my tune on going and picking up Le'Veon Bell for redraft, not for dynasty, as our question originally went. I don't like it. I think it's stinky, and if he sucks, I wouldn't be surprised. But when we're talking about a run-heavy, run-first team like the Ravens, I feel like it's out of necessity that this needs to happen. And also, everyone who got Tyson Williams, congratulations. You now have an RB1 for the Ravens.
Crazy.
Right?
Crazy. Yes. So yeah, from I'm so glad you took it to a redraft perspective as well. Little side note, little caveat. In Dynasty, definitely don't trade for Le'Veon, but if he's out there, pick him up for sure and see if you can get someone to give you something for him. Because I did that, and he's on the trade block right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, girl, yeah. Queen. That is amazing. I love it. I love it.
From a redraft perspective, I'm with you, Lauren. I mean, it sounds like, and I wish that I had the actual quote because I was not prepared to bring it up, because in my mind I was thinking we're fading Le'Veon Bell, obviously. But if I had known, I know a little caveat, and I can't remember exactly where it was from, but it sounds like it's possible that even before the injury, they were saying that it's possible that Le'Veon Bell could get a little play if he's ready to go. They're prepared. They were already prepared to bring him up from the practice squad. They were prepared.
I think John
to
Harbaugh actually said it.
Yeah,
John Harbaugh said it. Yep.
So yeah, whenever he, was up to speed and ready to go, they were ready to put him in. So that was going to be interesting. I wasn't still really going for him in a redraft perspective, but it sounds like he could be involved. So for sure, if you want to, get him on your team.
Yeah, I like it as well. It might be stinky, but you know what? It's worth preparing for that just in case. I'm gonna move on to the next one. And, dude, I'm just calling you Bobby because Andrade and then lots and lots of letters. So Bobby from Twitter, he says, should I drop Jonnu Smith for Rondale Moore? Tara, why don't you take this one?
So the context in this question is what really matters here. I think we talked about something similar before. If you have another tight end with Jonnu, because Jonnu's one of those guys where realistically you could have drafted someone else. If you've got another top tight end, and you need wide receiver upside, for sure. Yeah, you could do that. You could do that if you want upside at wide receiver and you're a little bit needy and you're okay at tight end. But otherwise, no, hold on to Smith. There's a lot of upside there for him as well. So if that's your tight end, keep him on your squad.
Yeah, I'm going to go the exact same route here. Like you said, context matters. So for everyone asking us a question, especially when it comes to adding and dropping players, having a little bit of understanding of what's going on in your squad will help us be able to help you. So I'm the same way. If Jonnu Smith is your only tight end, don't drop him. Hang on to Rondale Moore. Even if you have another tight end, let's say another late round tight end, which I know is pretty popular this year, taking 2 late round tight ends, I still would hold on to both of those tight ends until their situation becomes a little bit clearer. However, if you do need wide receiver depth, then yeah, you might be able to drop Jonnu Smith. I would not personally, because that would give me heartburn, and I would hate to see Jonnu Smith picked up by somebody else, which is going to happen. The thing with Rondale Moore is we're really not quite sure what's going on. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be that, obviously, the deep downfield red zone threat. Kyler Murray himself is a rushing red zone threat. There's also James Conner, and then there's also Chase Edmonds. James Conner, Chase Edmonds. I don't know if I got it right the first time, but if I didn't, I corrected myself anyway. So really, I think where Rondale Moore is going to make his hay is in between the 20s. I don't know how much touchdown opportunity he's going to have with all of those touchdown monsters already on the field. So for me, I would stick with Jonnu Smith here, but just keep your eye on how Rondale Moore does, especially if you need a little bit of volume for your PPR standpoint. But when it comes to value and when it comes to touchdowns and points in that regard, I'm sticking with Jonnu Smith. Perf. Did you have anything else? Because I totally interrupted you there. I was like, moving on, what? All right, perfect. Let's get it. All right, thank you, Bobby, with all your numbers and letters in your name.
Yes.
You'll know who it is when you hear this, Bobby. All right, moving on. Brian Rich from Twitter. Was it smart to drop Adeyemi Brown for Tony Jones?
Oh, it's a very tough question.
I love this one. It's like, how'd I do? Because we could really upset you right now, or we could make your day. Ask us before you make those choices.
Retrospect question. I like it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a tough question because I like him, Adeyemi Brown. I think he is the wide receiver 2 of that offense. We talked about Curtis Samuel, and Curtis Samuel was a little bit of a shaky situation there with injury. But Tony Jones, man, I mean, he is the New Orleans handcuff, and the thing about him is that he's also technically usable as a flex as well. I feel like we're getting a lot of Tony Jones questions over here, very popular. Yeah. But I think it goes back to what Lauren was saying about the philosophy in terms of handcuffing. Is he somebody who, do you have Alvin Kamara and you're trying to handcuff Alvin Kamara? No, probably not. Are you trying to get upside in case Kamara goes down? Okay, yeah. I mean, it could go either way, but I personally probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. It's hard. And this is another kind of context matters type of deal, because if you have the room on your bench, because some leagues and some teams have a huge bench. So if you needed to make room because you wanted to stash Tony Jones, that's how I see it. He's a stash. He is not a start, whereas I feel Adeyemi Brown has the opportunity to start and get you fantasy points, whereas Tony Jones is not going to be able to do that right away. Yeah. So, but if you wanted that as a comfort blanket, security blanket, that way of saying like, okay, well, I have this in case of that, then you did make the right decision. So, but for me personally, I would have hung on to Brown just to see what he can do in that offense that's a little shaky with, all the things that are going on in that offense. We'll see how things pan out there. But having that opportunity to see the possibility for a wide receiver 2 as opposed to a big roadblock in the way of production, I probably would have kept a hold of Brown in that situation. Sorry, my friend. I didn't mean to give you bad news. But let's move on to Patty Sidwell from Twitter. Here's a good one. Le'Veon Bell or Tony Jones Jr. Obviously, Tony Jones is the hot topic right now because Latavius Murray was released. So that's why we're all talking about Tony Jones here. All right, I'm going to jump in with this one because my answer is now obsolete because I said Le'Veon Bell is on the practice squad, so no. But now that he might not be on the practice squad, I am changing my tune. I would likely go after Le'Veon Bell instead of Tony Jones for the same reason I had mentioned earlier. Le'Veon Bell may have more of a path to see touches and volume in a running back by committee timeshare that relies very heavily on the run. So normally I would have said no because I think he's going to be a heartbreaker, but at least he's going to see a little bit more playing time, maybe, than Tony Jones, I think. That's how definitive I am about this. But I guess if I have to make this choice, I'm going to go Lev Bell. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're talking about Le'Veon Bell in 2021. What is happening right now?
And we're advising for him.
I know! What is happening?
Yeah. So obviously the context of what just happened changes so much. So, it's tough because, I think you have to go with Le'Veon Bell. I think you have to go with the potential and cross your fingers and hope that it pans out the way that we think it's now going to pan out, that he's probably, at the very least, maybe going to get like a 50-50 split in terms of working with Tyson Williams. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. I would take the gamble and I would get Love. But I will say, in defense of Tony Jones, which maybe I should have defended him a little bit earlier in some previous questions since we're talking about him constantly. But in defense of Tony Jones, if you look at New Orleans last year, and you look at Latavius Murray, who was pretty good last year. So let's assume that he had a good year and that Tony Jones could step in and have a similar good year. Latavius had multiple games where he was a viable flex option. Now, it's, it's predicting when he will be that viable flex option, but it did happen. He was actually usable and someone that you could say, hey, even when Kamara was healthy and thriving, they were still using Latavius Murray. And I don't think that's really going to change from New Orleans' perspective, even though they've had some offensive changes and losses, unfortunately. So, the New Orleans backup role is usable in a pinch, so do keep that in mind. Probably go with Le'Veon Bell, sorry.
Yeah, and just to back you up here too, because I know I'm more of the caution when it comes to Tony Jones, and you're more of he's a flex opportunity. Latavius Murray last year for the New Orleans Saints, let's see, in 2020 he had 146 rush attempts for 656 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 26 targets, 23 receptions, 176 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So there is opportunity there for him. For some reason, I just still have that like wall of there is only Kamara, and Kamara there only is in New Orleans. So that's kind of how I feel it. But I think we're both here on the same thing where we're going to say go with Le'Veon Bell in this instant. Okay, so let's see. Yohei from Twitter. He says, trying to decide on whether to pull the trigger on AJ Green. First of all, why? Second of all, no. Don't do that.
Yeah, I don't think we have to discuss it much. Just no. Don't do it. We like Rondell more. We talked about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. I did have someone ask me outside of this chat if they should start Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, or Juju Smith-Schuster. It's like, you need to diversify, my friend. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, don't do that.
Very interesting.
All right. Yeah, right? Okay, so Adam Watson from Twitter, he says, I want to grab Antonio Brown, but I don't know who to drop for him. Brandon Ayuk or Courtland Sutton. What say you, Tara?
So first of all, I like this question because we all play in different league sizes, and I'm going to assume that this is a little bit smaller of a league if this is a choice, and I like taking questions from all sizes. So if you're playing in a smaller league, in an 8 or a 10 team, don't feel like you can't ask a question about things that would seem common sense, because questions like this are actually kind of complicated because we're talking about dropping very important guys to their team. So I probably wouldn't do it, but if I was going to, because I've already talked about how big I am on Antonio Brown, but if I was going to do it, it would probably be Courtland Sutton. I am very confident in Brandon Ayuk in terms of the talent level. I've talked about him before. I think Courtland Sutton is great, but it's possible that Tony Bridgewater kind of favors Jerry Jeudy in that offense a little bit more. And so if I had to pick and choose, I'm going to say Sutton, but probably not.
Okay, I'm going to take a wild guess here, Adam, and I'm going to assume that you may or may not have more than one defense on your roster. So take a look at other options that you can drop, because I am all for adding Antonio Brown. But don't forget that there are other positions there that you do not need to have backups for, like defenses. That's one example. If you have 3 tight ends, drop one of those. Because for me, I would not drop Brandon Ayuk or Courtland Sutton to pick up Antonio Brown. That hurts me because I want Antonio Brown. So try to find somewhere else that you can drop to add Antonio Brown there, because it is a very complicated answer, just like Tara was saying, because I don't want you to do it, but I want you to have Antonio Brown. So see if there's some other ways that you can do that if you happen to be stashing more than one defense or more than one kicker, which I have seen before too. If you play in a kicker league, get rid of those guys, put Antonio Brown onto your squad. Alrighty, and who do we have here? Ooh, Touchdown J from the Insta. I like that. Touchdown.J from Instagram. He said, is it bad that I drafted Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb in a 10-team half-point PPR? He got Cooper in the 4th, and he got Lamb in the 5th, and he couldn't pass it up. So, my friend Touchdown J, you have not been listening to our previous Ask the Experts episodes. I can speak English, I swear. I don't fault you, my dear. There are things that happen in life where you can't catch every episode. But Tara and I have talked ad nauseum about stacking. So I'm going to give you my perspective here. I do not like having 2 players that are on the same team that are basically the same role, if you will. There is not enough diversification. You are basically stepping on your own feet every single week. And I know it was hard to pass up. Trust me, we have all done it before. And when one of them has a really good game, trade them for another value that you have, because it's not good that you have both of them, but it's not the end of the world.
Yep, I don't have anything to add. Yes, it's fixable. You got to trade. Lauren nailed it.
Yeah. Yes. Boom. Mic drop. We're supposed to be like arguing here on these shows, but sometimes it's hard when we both like adamantly agree. Like, no, it's okay. Things happen. Trade one of them away, but only when they have a super duper huge game. You want to get the most value that you can out of them. All right. I'm just going to say it the way I want to say it. Jesus Vargas 75 or Jesus Vargas 75 from Instagram as well. Who should he keep? Curtis Samuel or Adam Thielen? He's going to be trading one of them. Tara, what do you think on this one?
It's Thielen. Unfortunately, there seem to be some really odd issues going on with the Samuel injury. He pulled up hurt in practice earlier in the week. And unfortunately, it's way too risky to be rostering him at this point over Thielen, who is someone who could get definitely high volume within the offense. Especially with Irv Smith going down as well. They're going to be really focused on Thielen and Jefferson. So, yep, got to go with Thielen.
100% agreed. You are running a massive risk having Curtis Samuel on your team. Get rid of him. Unfortunately, your value for him is going to be very low because he is injured, and they know that. But just understand that moving forward, but you're definitely going to want to keep Adam Thielen. Curtis Samuel is not going to do any favors. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Alrighty. Jonathan Kinea
Yes.
from Instagram. Dalvin Cook and Tyler Higbee for Joe Mixon and George Kittle. Which side are you on? Dalvin Cook and Tyler Higbee, or are you on the Joe Mixon, George Kittle side?
This is such a fun question. And I'll keep it short because I feel like I've talked so much because in my defense, I was very distracted by Le'Veon Bell.
We both were.
Yes. But I am team upside on this. I am team Mixon and team Kittle. You know what? I know Dalvin is Dalvin. Love him. Don't down him at all. I just don't believe in Higbee that much. But, when I look on the opposite end and I'm looking at, I super believe in Kittle. And then in terms of Mixon, I think that Mixon could easily be a top 10 back if he stays healthy. He is the back in that offense. He is a workhorse. And the only thing that's keeping him away from that is staying on the field. So if he stays on the field and you're making this trade and you are on the Mixon and Kittle side, you possibly won with that tight end upside.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of hard to pass up on the George Kittle, but I'm saying no to this, and I'm going to be on the other side. I'm going to take the Dalvin Cook, Tyler Higbee side because I believe in Matt Stafford, and I believe that he loves the tight end position as well. So, and I love Dalvin Cook, and I do not have enough, I don't have enough faith in Joe Mixon that he will stay on the field and that his role won't be usurped. So for me, I'm going to take that upside with Dalvin Cook, and then I'm going to have a little bit of faith in Tyler Higbee there. So again, I'm not sure really this is a right or wrong answer on this trade here. I think it's whoever you want to go with your gut. All right, Joey Delaney from Instagram. He is in a 12-man standard league, and he wants to package Thielen and Noah Fant together for a running back or a wide receiver. Who should I target? And when I read your answer, I was like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We both have the same one.
So please know, we put lots of thought into these questions because we really do want to help you guys. And this was a good question because, as we mentioned before, you gave us lots of information about the league. So, Thielen is still pretty valuable. And, Fant's kind of right on that outside of being a top 5 tight end. So if you're trying to trade for somebody, maybe trade for Allen Robinson. See, he's a guy who is very reliable, good production, but as Lauren mentioned earlier, there are some things that may be a little sketchy with him and the situation that they've got with Andy Dalton, and if they're going to actually start Justin Fields at some point, then you've got a rookie as well if that does happen. So I think that you could make the argument to get someone to trade Allen Robinson for that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what I would recommend doing is make a trade to go after someone like DK Metcalf. And then when they counter, then you come back with someone like Allen Robinson or someone like DJ Moore. So try to go high on that because those aren't two slouches. Noah Fant is good. So especially with Adam Thielen here too. So if you want to package those, aim high first and then counter back with someone like Allen Robinson or possibly DJ Moore, whichever you want the most on your team here. And oh my gosh, that was it.
Yeah.
Wow, that was super duper awesome. I love that. So quick question for you before we wrap up and then you take us home, Tara. Which one would you want out of the 3 Pittsburgh Steelers? Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, or Chase Claypool? In PPR, let's say.
It's Deontay. I'm going with the no.
That's
He's
what
the
I
target
said.
later.
Mm-hmm. I know. See, that's what I said too. Okay, thank you. Now I don't feel so bad. All right, Tara, take us home.
So what a fantastic episode. Lots of great questions. Thank you everyone so much for submitting your questions and for tuning in to another episode of Ask the Experts. I am Tara Roberts. You can find me on Twitter at It's Tara Time. And I'm here with my co-host, Lauren Carpenter. You can find her on Twitter at StepMomLauren. Remember to tune in all season long. We'll be here with you every single week. We'll be here answering your questions every single Friday after kickoff of the regular season, which is today. It's Thursday. Yay. So we'll be with you. We're here to help you. Ask us questions. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media channels and use the hashtag AskTheExperts to make your questions eligible. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.